that 10K is going to kick your butt. Snowshoe running is a lot more exercise than you plan on it being. Even if you think it's going to be a lot more work, it's going to be more work than that.
Hey, don't scare me.
I'm not trying to scare anybody. We want to be realistic about it. Your first time out, it's going to kick your butt, but it's in a good way because you're going to be real strong and real fit. That in the winter season, you're going to come out in the spring and be setting some PRs and be able to run some distances and run some races and do some events that you weren't able to do before because you're getting that much more of exercise through snowshoe running. So
yeah, I mean, seriously, if you do the series and you start out just like basically walking the whole, the first one and then running a couple minutes of it by the end of the last one, if you do the whole series, I'm sure you'll be able to run a 5K. It's
no guarantee on that.
Guarantee, okay.
It's a good
Take it up with Crystal.
Yeah, take it up with her. But
as far as coordination goes, your stride's not going to be a whole lot different from your usual running stride. You are going to want to pick your knees up a little bit more, and that's one of the things that not a lot of people do when they're running anyway. When you get tired and get fatigued, you sort of shuffle along a bit. Yeah. So it'll do a lot for your stride. It'll do a lot for your technique. It'll do a lot for your gait. So really, it'll improve you as a runner, whether or not you're setting personal bests. So it's definitely encourage people to try it out. As far as your stride and your gait go, if you're a heavy heel striker and you're hitting hard on your heel, the snowshoes like the Run and our race model have a little bit more curve to the heel, which is going to keep you from digging in as you strike, which will allow you to hit where you're supposed to with your crampons. So you want to make sure you have your heel over your crampon on the back, and obviously the ball of your foot in the right place. On the 4-foot strike plate of all of our snowshoes, we have a little indicator where the ball of your foot should go. But it's actually really simple. Just put it in between the two straps, you're fine. So as long as everything's lined up properly, you're not going to have too much of an issue. And that's why we put the binding on here the way we do. Some people like to take the binding off and put their shoes on directly. I think that takes away from all the research and development that we do on bindings. We want to make sure that the foot stays stable on the shoe and that your heel stays over the heel strike plate because that's where all your grip is. For snowshoe running, most of the trails you're going to be on are already used or already packed, or somebody's gone out and marked and set some tracks already, which is why you, right?
sometimes.
Right? Sometimes.
Just don't lead the pack out. Just follow it.
Sometimes you do get deeper fresh snow, which is why it's snowshoe running. You'd be flipping snow up all over the place. But most of what people are running on for snowshoes is for the traction and a little bit of float in the 4 to 6 inches of snow you have up there that you'll need when you're running snowshoes. So it's not super complicated. It's not really rocket science. We haven't changed snowshoes much in the last 10,000 years. You put them on your feet and walk in the snow. In your case, you put them on your feet and you run in the snow. Your first time out, if you're feeling a little awkward or feeling a little uncoordinated, grab a set of cross-country ski poles or a set of ski poles, or even some of our Atlas 2-section or 3-section poles, because that'll give you 2 more points of balance, and you're not going to be really moving along that fast your first couple times out. I would definitely encourage you to practice a few times before you get into the race, because once that adrenaline gets going a little bit, it's a little easier to take a spill. We do make them fairly narrow. You have a nice narrow tail here too, so when you're in your normal running stride, you're going to be a lot less likely to step on your frames. That's just going to take. It's going to take clipping your ankles once or twice before you learn, and not to overlap as much. This is the race model. This is our lightest weight featured snowshoe. It uses a titanium crampon and a lighter weight aluminum frame, and it's basically built for ultimate speed. So if you are planning on setting some personal records, or if you are planning on competing, the race is a really good option for you because it's going to keep that weight down.
So there's no difference in speed per size person?
No, not at all. We use a standard size because it makes it a little simpler. Like I said, most of the trails are going to be fairly used already or already an existing trail. So we don't need to tend to size them up a whole lot. And that's why we're talking about the hiking snowshoes. We have multiple different lengths, and if you're in a longer hiking snowshoe, it's a little harder to run in because of the size. It's a little unwieldy. If you already have a pair of hiking snowshoes and they're small size like this, a 23, 21 or 22 inch, that type of length, you could probably run in those without too much of a problem at all. They're going to be a little heavier than what we make for specialized running, but you're going to want to try it out a few times, make sure that's something you want to do before you commit to a brand new pair of snowshoes. So if you dig it and if you like it, a running snowshoe is custom made for the activity, and that's really going to be the most comfortable way to go when we design it for running. It's going to be easier to use for running.
How much do they run?
You'll be anywhere from $179 for our fitness to start with. The fitness is our entry shoe. It's made for folks that aren't out setting PRs, but you want some exercise and you want to run during the winter and you want that traction. We have a little bit of a pivot under here, which keeps it from flipping snow up all over your back. That's what your tights and your soft shell clothes and all the fancy clothing that you've got is for, is to keep you nice and dry. The run has a much snappier binding to it, so it will tend to stay with your feet a little bit more regularly. So if you are moving along at a good clip, you're going to have a little bit easier time using the run as opposed to a fitness model. They'll go anywhere from, like I said, $179 up to $329. The most expensive ones.
Any other questions on the snowshoes? I can say.
I can talk about them all day. It's my job.
Yeah.